Hello everyone, this is Untitled Chapter. Welcome to another mod overview, this time on MobTools. A mod simply adds in a cartridge, collector, and spawner. We'll start with the recipes first. Just go to here. So you've got the collector, which is made with string, knife ender, and iron ingots. Cartridge, made with iron bars and chest. And you've got the spawner, which is iron bars, redstone block, netherite, and iron block. Excuse me while I change the weather here. So, what you want to do is get yourself a cartridge and just, let's see, which was it again? Sneak right click to open the sort of inventory for the collector, and you'll put a cartridge in here, and you can see obviously if there's no cartridge or if there's any mobs stored inside. And obviously once you have mobs stored inside the cartridge, it will show in the tooltip and that how many or which mobs got stored in there. So just put that in here, and I did have a bunch of mobs from prior testing here, so you can see the following there. And if we just get another lot of spawn eggs just to get them going, you can find out. So if we get, say, a bunch of GEI will work for me right now. It does that every time I open a world. There we go. Just got a bunch of pigs, for example. So right click, and right click. And you can see that we've got them now stored in there, and it says 3 pigs. If I've just got another mob, like I showed with the other cartridge, it'll just have other mobs listed, of course. Otherwise, if I want to release a mob, I can just left click, and they'll be placed in the world wherever I happen to click, it seems, rather than just say, you know, firing it like an arrow or something. It'll place them exactly where you've got on the block, I assume. Or within reason, the distance, I assume. And you can right click even from that distance and pick them up, so that's useful. So you can obviously release them, capture them, and change the cartridge out. So we'll change the cartridge out now, and we'll get another spawner going. And as you can see, the block changes color every time. So with the first one that I had, it was that color, and then here it's now reddish. So I don't know if that's just to distinguish between them, and it's not just because I've got this here and was testing with power, but obviously nothing goes to it because it's for charging, not for generating power and then having them adjacent to it. So I don't know what the actual block changing thing is. But yeah, so we'll actually get some generators from mechanism, because why not? And let's see, so we'll put our cartridge in here. Ah, okay, so it is limited to how many blocks as well, I guess? Or maybe for crossover, if that's the case? I'm not sure. I'll actually move this out somewhere else. Just because why not? Oh, and the actual spawner doesn't get picked up. Interesting, so that's probably a bug. Or I'm using the wrong tool, even though there's no wrench or this and the other, so I'm not sure. So let's see, that's at 0. Interesting, why is that not actually working for me? That's weird. So it can apparently determine maybe how many you have you can present in a way? I have no idea. That's 5. If I go here, why is there a restriction based on it? Oh, I get it, it's because of how much space there is, that's why. That makes sense. I don't know how I missed that before. Oh well. So the cartridge, we've got our heat generator, for example, just generating some power. We'll get some coal. I could put lava in there, but oh well. It's the first thing I thought of. Let's see. Lava. Just get a few in here. Actually, we'll get a coal block. That'll make it easier. We'll get a ton of those, and we'll get a cable, since due to the way I placed it, I didn't think about it until now. And that'll just have power going into it like so. And then the progress bar will be pretty much going each time to then spawn a mob. So within 5x5 range, it's supposed to spawn mobs. It's not spawning any pigs for some reason though. So we go maybe normal. Not that that should matter. And I don't see anything. Oh, there we go. I've got a pig. So yeah. So if you want the ability to just spawn any type of mobs that you pick up without the need to obviously like get a certain resource, like I guess say a pork chop or something and put it in the cartridge, or try and, you know, go via other means or so, then yeah, you can just easily pick them up with a mob collector and a cartridge, and then it'll spawn a mob every so often, and maybe in the same positions. I'm not sure. I'll try in a 3x3 range and see what happens, because obviously it's kind of limited on space here as it is. So, I don't know. Can you move things? That'd be great. Let's see. So progress bar going, and nothing. So it might be limited. Oh well. And obviously you could put this like in the air or otherwise, I assume, and have them just sort of drop maybe from a certain area. Possibly, unless they need a solid block to spawn on. I'm actually not sure, but my guess is probably. But yeah, that's just good for power. It's doing its thing fine. But yeah, I'd say probably use something like Mechanism. This is, at least to my knowledge, is the only one I've come across that actually provides power generations. There probably is a bunch of other mods, but it's probably the likely one to go with. Even though it does obviously have the rest of the mod included. But yeah, if there is any other power mods, I'll probably put them in the description or so every so often. Otherwise, we do have a config that allows you to set the energy base cost. So the energy base cost and the final cost and so on for mob health. So yeah, that'll be each time I assume it creates a mob or spawns a mob after it's hit the maximum of the progress bar. Whether or not it requires forge energy or not, so you can actually turn that off. You don't need to. Interesting. Okay. So I'm assuming maybe you could just have it where it works with a redstone signal. Otherwise, you've got the ability for it allowing boss mobs to be spawned. So things like the Wither, Ender Dragon, Elder Guardian, maybe modded ones. But it's off by default. Otherwise, you've got the limited range of the spawner to the chunk it's placed in. So if you don't want a sort of restriction to that, I guess, they can sort of just maybe spawn anywhere, I guess? I don't know. I haven't tested that, obviously. Otherwise, you've got the ability to allow boss mobs to be captured, besides just the spawner spawning them. You've got the ability to set the debug message output to the log file if you want. You've got a mob cap, I assume, for the cartridges. Which it says 10 there, but obviously it's 9 in the thing, so obviously 0 is still considered as something. So if you're wanting to consider stuff, always think 1 less, I assume, for how many that can be allowed in the cartridge. And obviously 1 higher when setting the cap number. Otherwise, you've got the tick delay for the spawner, so obviously that'll be each time it hits the maximum of the progress bar. Or the length of the progress. And then you've got the spawner maximum radius, so that's 5. So you can expand that if you want to be a lot larger than what it is of just spawning them out about here, and that's it. So yeah. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.